The cost of a magazine and 2 books is $34. The cost of 3 magazines and 4 books is $76. And we're asked, if Tasha buys 13 magazines and 9 books, how much money does she spend? Okay. Now, this is a case where we've got one group with a value, another group with a value, and we're going to try and identify the difference and see if that helps us work out the cost of either a magazine or a book. Okay, so right, let's see if we can draw the first bit, the first group that we are given. We've got a magazine. Okay, so that's going to be a magazine, and this is 2 books. Okay, so we've got 1 magazine, 2 books, and we know that they have a value. That group has a value of 34. Okay, and we're also told that this other group has a value of 36. Well, what does this other group look like? And, well, what does it have in it? Now, I'm trying to find difference, and it will be easier to find the difference if I can keep, you know how we sometimes try and keep parts the same? Well, I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to arrange these 3 magazines and 4 books to see if I can arrange them using these groups as far as possible. I'll start drawing, and then hopefully you'll see what I mean. Now, what have I got here? 3 magazines and 4 books. So let's start drawing. I'm going to draw the first group. So 1 magazine, 2 books. Okay. So now I've done 1 magazine, I've done 2 books. I'm doing like a little tally here. All right. So that's one group. I'm going to do another one. I've still got more magazines to draw. So 1 magazine and 2 books. Okay, so I've now drawn 2 magazines, okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4 books. Okay, so that's enough of the books. I've accounted for all of the books. What is left? Well, I've drawn 2 of the magazines. I still have 1 magazine. So I'm going to put this 1 magazine at the end. Okay. And just to make it even clearer, so if this is, I don't know why that hasn't gone. Okay. If this is sort of one group here, I can see these groups here as well. Okay. And of course, what you might have noticed already, if this group has a value of 34, so does this one, and this one. Okay. And what we also know is that this group of 3 magazines and 4 books has a value of 76, this whole thing. Okay. And hopefully you can see then that we now have a difference that we can identify. Okay. Now here we've got 34 and 34. So we're going to add those and we get 68. Okay. So that's the value of those 2 groups. And so we need to find the difference between 76 and 68, and that will give us the value of this. So we have 76 and we subtract 68, and that gives us a value of 8. So 1 magazine, right? Because remember, this represents 1 magazine costs $8. Okay, so let's do this. One mag is $8. Always keep what have I just calculated? What does that mean? That means one magazine is $8. Now we were lucky here. This worked out because the difference was one part. If it had been two magazines, that also would have been okay because we could have divided whatever that difference was by two. If it was a book, we would have been okay, or two books, we would have been okay. Had the difference been a magazine and a book, it would have been trickier because we still wouldn't have known how much a magazine or a book was. But in this case, we can do it. Right. Well, we have some good information here now. So one magazine is $8. How can we work out the value of a book? Well, let's go back to this original model, because if we can now put in a value here, there's $8 for this. That means if I subtract 8 from 34, okay, we get 26. That is the value of these two parts here together. Okay, this is 26. And if we divide 26, if we divide that by 2, we are going to get the value of each of these parts, each of which represents one book. So 26 divided by 2 give us 13, and that's how much a book costs. So we've got one magazine is $8, one book is $13, and now we should be able to work out our answer. Okay, we've now got all the information we need to answer the question. If Tasha buys 13 magazines and 9 books, okay, so 13 magazines, so 13 times the cost of a magazine, 13 times 8 is 104, and we want 9 books times the cost of a book, which is 13. That's a bit confusing if you're not keeping on track. So we're doing 9 times 13, and 9 times 13 is 117. And if we add these two together, all right, that is going to give us the total amount of money. So let's add them together, and that is going to give us, that's a total cost of $221. That's how much she spent.